Hey YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football, and we are back with your start and sit video for Week 7 of the NFL. Now, if you haven't already, check out my waiver wire video to see if there's any players that may be able to have some value for you. Otherwise, let's jump right into it. All right, so Week 7 of the NFL is here, and we've got a game on Thursday, a bright and early game on Sunday morning, 2 Monday night games as well, so a great slate of games going forward. Now, only 2 teams are on a bye, which is great news for anybody in fantasy, which means there are more players available. You've got the Buffalo Bills and the Baltimore Ravens. So as far as the quarterback position goes, you still got Lamar Jackson out due to injury plus the bye week, and then, of course, Josh Allen, which is a huge one. So for any of you Josh Allen owners, hopefully you guys came up with a plan to put someone in. Maybe that waiver wire video will help you out. Now, these are your obvious starts at the quarterback position. These are guys that are either matchup proof or they've got a great matchup this week that I really didn't want to deep dive into because it didn't need to be, because they've just got a good matchup for them this week. Now, the first quarterback I'm going to mention is a good start. It's going to be Caleb Williams versus the Saints. Now, look, Caleb Williams has been fantastic, and a lot of people have kind of slept on him this season because I don't know if it's maybe because he's a Bear. I'm not really sure what it is, but right now, currently going into Week 7, Caleb Williams is quarterback 11. So again, most traditional leagues are now 12 teams for the most part, and he's done a fantastic job. Now, he did fall off in Week 4, right? He didn't play great. He had 11 points, and obviously Week 5 was their bye. But then Week 6, he put up 19 fantasy points, 250 plus passing yards, a touchdown, and a touchdown on the ground. So again, a really good game. They were able to come back against the Commanders, and now going against the Saints team that has been struggling against the quarterback. They are allowing the 4th most points to the quarterback position. They're allowing about just over 200 yards passing, but they're allowing an average of 2 passing touchdowns per game. So the matchup is amazing. And if you look at some of the matchups that the Saints have had to play against, right? You're looking at players like Kyler Murray put up 18 points. Mac Jones put up 21 points. Sam Darnold, 16 points. Josh Allen, 25 points. Jaxson Dart, 17 points. Drake Mace, 25 points. You get the picture. They're allowing a lot of points, so just about any quarterback. They did get some interceptions, though, in Week 5 and 4. Again, you know, that's something that you may see happen, but it's not very common for the Saints. They are not creating a lot of turnovers. I love this matchup for Caleb Williams. I think this is a perfect one for him to really successful week. So again, you Josh Allen owners, maybe you want to grab Caleb Williams because he has been available in some of those waiver wires. Now, the next quarterback I'm going to mention here is going to be Bryce Young versus the Jets. Look, the Jets are struggling defensively. Now, they're not allowing as many points as, like I said, with the Saints. They are still allowing over 18 fantasy points per game. They are also allowing an average of 2 passing touchdowns. Now, they did a pretty good job of shutting down Bo Nix, and I think sometimes when you're talking those London games or those overseas games, play in general is just odd, right? There's travel you got to deal with. It's just a different environment. Not everyone performs the best they can, because I do think Bo Nix could have been better. Give credit to the Jets. They did a good job, obviously, keeping him under 15 points in fantasy, but they allowed 28 points to Dak, 17 points to Baker, 25 points to Aaron Rodgers. So realistically, the Jets have the opportunity there. This is a great matchup for Bryce Young, who's coming off an amazing game, let's be honest, against the Dallas Cowboys, and one of his better games he's had all season. Now, he's not playing great for the year. He's quarterback 19, but he's coming off a really great game, 109 passing yards, 3 passing touchdowns. This is a really good matchup for Bryce Young to continue that success going forward. I really like him as a nice little play this week. Now, the next quarterback I'm going to mention is going to be Joe Flacco versus the Steelers. Yes, we are talking Joe Flacco. Look, he's now part of the Bengals, which is a Thursday night game. So he gets to play against the Steelers, who he has played against several times, obviously being in this division. So it's nothing new for him. He has played several times, let's be honest. And Joe Flacco does a pretty good job against the AFC North teams. And he's coming off a Week 6 game against the Green Bay Packers where he put up 18 fantasy points. So for him, this is a great game having Jamar Chase. He's going to get a little bit more reps in practice with him, T. Higgins, and I do think this is actually might be a slightly better game for Chase Brown. We'll see how things play out, but I really like this game for Joe Flacco, especially against the Steelers defense that has allowed a decent amount of points. They're allowing an average of 18 points per game. They do create about a turnover per game, which is a big deal, but they do allow a lot of passing yards. So that's something you do have to consider. He should get a decent amount of passing yards. I think they're going to play some catch up against the Steelers. The Bengals defense has obviously some work to do, but I really like Joe Flacco in this one. Now, speaking of that same game, I love Aaron Rodgers. Great matchup against the Bengals. Aaron Rodgers has actually really played really well. He looks like his old self in some of these games. He's coming off of a week where he had 17 fantasy points against the Browns. He had over 230 passing yards, 2 touchdowns. He is playing fantastic. Right now this season, he's averaging 15 points, which is slightly better than he did in the Jets last season. But I do think he's only going to get better. I do wish they had kept George Pickens as far as a fantasy output when it comes to Aaron Rodgers. Obviously, selfishly as a Dallas Cowboy fan, I'm glad George Pickens left. But I do think that him and Metcalf are starting to really come into their own. Metcalf has had 2 really solid games. And again, now, like I mentioned, he's playing against the Bengals defense that's allowing 18 points per game, over 260 passing yards, and an average of 2 touchdowns per game. So the matchup is really great. I love this one for Aaron Rodgers. I've seen a lot more and more people starting to pick him up because they're feeling more confident in him. I think this is a great week for him to have some success. Now, as far as the sits go, the first quarterback I'm going to mention is Sam Darnold versus the Texans. And it's kind of a tough one because I like Sam Darnold. He's quarterback 12 coming into this week. He's done a really good job. He's coming off a 20-point performance, a 27-point performance, like really, really good job. Going against a Texans team that's coming off of a bye week that I think actually might turn this around. The Texans are the best against the quarterback, only allowing an average of 9 fantasy points per game. Amazing. Now, let's be honest. They weren't against great quarterbacks. Week 1, yeah, Matthew Stafford held him to 13. Baker Mayfield did take advantage. He had 19 points. Trevor Lawrence only 8 points. Cam Ward only 5 points. Cooper Rush only 4 points. So, yes, that plays a factor. Don't get me wrong. But I do think this is actually a game that the Texans defense starts to show up. You get a whole fresh week off. You're going against a little bit more extra preparation against them. This is a matchup I'm really nervous for Sam Darnold. But don't be surprised if he does have a good game. I'm a little bit more hesitant because of the matchup. Plus, again, that preparation matters. I think the Texans deserve a nice little win defensively because I felt coming into this league this year, they were going to be one of the best. And right now they are doing a really good job. So we'll see how things play out, but I'm not a big fan of Sam Darnold's matchup. Another quarterback I'm not a fan of this week is Jaxson Dart, who I absolutely love, and you should consider picking him up, especially when you look at my waiver wire video, but the matchup is tough against the Broncos. Broncos defense is one of the better defenses in the league. They just held Justin Fields to 4 points. They held Jake Browning to 5 points. They had Cam Ward to 2 points. But yes, they have allowed some decent points like, Jalen Hurts 19, even Daniel Jones to 22. But this is a really good matchup defensively for the Broncos against this Giants team that obviously wants to use Scatterbo. They want to obviously introduce Jaxson Dart, but they don't have any stud wide receivers, especially to compete against Patrick Surtain in the backfield, in the secondary. So matchup-wise, this is a tough one for Jaxson Dart, even though he has been rejuvenating this Giants offense. A lot of the fans are excited about it. They're playing really hard, but this is a matchup I'm going to sit him. Another quarterback I'm going to sit is going to be Trevor Lawrence versus the Rams. Rams defense has done a really good job. They've only held quarterbacks to 14 points a game. They're only allowing about a touchdown per game as well. They've done a really good job holding teams to a pretty good low score. One of the better teams, not allowing a lot of touchdowns. And if you look at the Rams matchups as far as what they've gone against this season, again, not the best, right? You didn't get to play against in Baltimore's Lamar Jackson. You only got Cooper Rush, but they've done a really good job. They have allowed some points, though. Don't get me wrong. Jalen Hurts scored 29. Mac Jones scored 22. But they held C.J. Stroud at 9 points. They held Daniel Jones to 12 points. Like I said, they just held Cooper Rush to negative points. They actually had to put Huntley in. So matchup-wise, there's a little bit more of a nervousness for me because I don't think Trevor Lawrence is going to have a great game. He's not playing fantastic, like out of his mind. I would love to have seen him do better. He did have a good game, don't get me wrong, but I would love to see him do better, especially with introducing Travis Hunter. I don't know what they're doing with him yet, but I would like to see more, but I'm not going to put Trevor Lawrence in this week. And the last quarterback I'm going to sit this week is going to be Tua Tagovailoa. Look, Tua, this one, man, I do think not having Tyreek has actually been somewhat good for Tua. Not the greatest, don't get me wrong. Tua is still struggling. He's having a hard time this season, whether it be, the offensive line struggling. Obviously they're getting the consistency, now losing, Tyreek Hill. You got to get everything back to Waddle, but he is allowing or only having 13 points per game, which is his second lowest ever in his career. He's coming off a 6-point performance against the Chargers. He threw 3 interceptions. He's thrown so far 7 interceptions this season, which is all he did last season in the 11 games he did play. So he is struggling. Now you're going against the Browns defense that's actually really good, right? They're only allowing an average of 15 points per game. This is a tough matchup for him. I do think they're going to have to lean on Achane. We'll see how that plays out because the Browns are actually pretty good against the running back position as well. So again, for me, I'm not comfortable putting in Tua. I'm going to sit him this week if I can. Now, as for my sleepers this week, I've got a couple players I want to mention. I do want to mention Dillon Gabriel for the Browns. I do think this is a decent matchup for him against the Dolphins, right? Dolphins right now are struggling against the quarterback position. They're allowing the second most points at 22. They're allowing 230 passing yards. And I think Dillon Gabriel has a chance to kind of really show up. He did well 2 weeks ago. I do think he's playing a little too safe, but if you wanted to put anybody in like maybe a super flex spot or, maybe some player props or something like that, I really do like Dillon Gabriel this week against the Dolphins. And the last quarterback I have as a nice little sleeper is going to be Spencer Rattler against the Bears. Bears right now struggling. They're allowing an average of 19 points per game, just over 200 passing yards, but they're allowing an average of 2.5 touchdowns passing. And Spencer's, you got to give him credit. The Saints offense is doing a lot better than I anticipated. Right now, Spencer Rattler is quarterback 18 going into the season. He didn't have a great week against the Patriots. He did try, but he's not creating a lot of turnovers. He's only thrown 1 interception. He's actually done a pretty good job. He's thrown for 6 passing touchdowns. Got to give him credit. A lot of people were unsure how he was going to finish, but right now, like I said, quarterback 18, he's starting to improve. I do think Olave's got to step up a little bit more. I'd love for them to introduce, Alvin Kamara and Kendra Miller. Both of those guys, but again, I like Spencer Rattler as a nice little sleeper. So those are my starts, sits, and sleepers for week 7 of the quarterback position. Of course, hit me up in the comments down below if you do have questions for your lineups or maybe trade questions or anything like that. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button as well. And make sure you check out all our start and sit videos and waiver wire videos when they are released. And I'll check you guys out next time.